All right. Well, while everyone is getting settled, I want to be the first to welcome you to our U Online Certificate in Data Management and Statistical Analysis virtual information session. We're thrilled to be able to have you here. This is a fantastic program, and we're going to be able to cover a lot of content with our very own Dr. Soyan An, who is our program director. So excited to be able to welcome her today. But before we do that, my name is Liz Coleman. I'm one of our senior enrollment advisors here with our U Online team. So excited to be able to welcome you here to our session tonight. Before we dive into our questions, I do want to cover a few housekeeping items. So to start, we understand that your time is very valuable. So this session is going to be about 30-45 minutes in length. We want to make sure that we're able to get your questions answered, but also recognize that many of you are ending your day with us, so we don't want to take up too much of your time. If for any reason you have to scoot out early, or if you're entering the session a little bit later, not to worry, you are going to get a recording of the full session so that you can go back and catch up on anything you might have missed, or just scrub up on some of the content that was discussed. We are going to cover a good bit of questions today with Dr. On, just to be able to discover this program a little bit more in depth, but we also want to make sure that this session is geared for you. So if you have any specific questions for Dr. On in regards to the content of the program, maybe you have some admissions related questions, feel free to utilize that Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen, and we definitely want to get those answered for you. And then lastly, if you do have a question and you want to maybe connect with an enrollment advisor on a more intentional or private level, especially if it's about financial aid, tuition, scholarships, feel free to connect with us. And you can see our phone number as well as the option to chat us as well if that's easier for your schedule. But with that being said, I do want to turn it over to Dr. On. Dr. On, thank you for joining us. If you will just take some time to share a little bit about yourself, what your role is here with the U, and how you serve our certificate students.
Sure. So nice to meet you, everybody. It's from Miami, and I don't know where everybody's are, but here's Miami, 84-degree, and which is really good. And some of you, from northern area, maybe feeling like, oh my God, where is she? Yeah, it's Miami. So welcome everybody, and nice to meet you. And nice, hoping that I can meet you soon in person via Zoom or in person, whatever in the context. My name is Suyan An, and I am professor in Research Measurement Evaluation Program at the University of Miami's School of Education and Human Development. I am program director of an on-the-ground PhD program of Research Measurement Evaluation Program. At the same time, I am the program director for the certificate programs and soon to be master program too at the end. And I'm also serving the School of Education as Vice Dean. And as a Vice Dean, I'm overseeing the graduate studies and research and academic affairs. And most importantly, I'm working closely with the online teams to make the online program to be, moving as smooth as possible. And I also do have another job to do with the statistical supporting unit in the school so that we can have supporting of a statistical consultation to faculty and students and community members. Seems like I do have a lot of things going on, but basically I am the person who is working on the research measure evaluation area to work with everybody for quantitative methodology. That's a baseline.
Yeah, well, you are truly fantastic. I mean, I was exhausted just hearing all of your titles. So we so appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule. And I know that just before this, you were discussing that you have office hours right after this. So definitely want to be courteous to your time as well. And then for those who are just now jumping on, again, thank you for joining us to discuss our certificate in data management and statistical analysis program. I see we've got several attendees here tonight. So send us a message in the chat. Let us know you're here. I think you can wave. I'm not really good at technology, but I think there's an option to do that. And then also make sure that you utilize our Q&A feature to ask any questions that you have. This session is specifically for you. So Dr. On, I do want to discuss the curriculum of the program, specifically how it's designed, and then if we could also kind of dive into what content is covered in those courses.
Sure. So this is a certificate program. So it's not going to be the long process to go with it. The certificate program with the 4 classes. And those 4 classes will be 7 weeks long. And after 7 weeks of one class is done, you will be having some break and then going into the other one. So that's the basic structure. So I would say, Liz, it will be 1 year mostly program, or that's what I can think about it. So 4 courses that will be having the certificate is the first one is having regression analysis, which is mostly prediction modeling. And after that, we'll be doing something about multivariate analysis, working with, many variables at the same time so that you can connect multiple variables at the same time, not just working with one or two dependent variable, which is extension of a regression modeling. And then we will be also having something called the computer programming using R and SAS. And some of you who might be joining over here heard a lot about R or SAS or some other program languages called Python. So from this course, computer program languages, we'll be working with R and SAS, which is the most popular one at this point in the fields in social sciences and public health and educations and other areas at the same time. So in this one, we'll be working with those 2 computer languages. Once you guys are done with this class, you guys will go to Introduction to Machine Learning. And in this machine learning classes, you will be using Python to play with, big data and working on the machine learning. So those are 4 classes that for the certificate programs.
Great, thank you so much. And then in regards to taking those courses and making it very applicable, what are the different career paths that students can expect after completing the certificate? And do they have to have either, a computer science or an information technology background to be successful in the program?
So I would say if you do have that background, that will help you a lot. However, that doesn't mean that that is must prerequisite to getting into the certificate. So, every single day we are using data, and even though you don't even know you are using data, you're using data. So if you are very familiar with what you are having in the life, which is data, and even for what's the weather today, is it going to be raining? Should I bring my umbrella? It's all based upon data. If you feel like that's your life, that's your interest, I would say it is a very, applicable for this certificate. If you're playing with the data, and if you really want to work on the data and contextualize your data analysis into the setting that you are in, that's where you are at. So that means, anything, I would say, if you are interested, you're passionate, and you're very much into the data and data decision-making process, this is the path that you can coming in. So after this certificate, you can go many different routes, because every time if you see the job market, job descriptions, everybody is just saying that I am looking for someone who can deal with the data analysis, quantitative methodology, or computational data analysis, or program evaluations. Those are the area that you can go anywhere, no matter what area you are going for. So it can be nonprofit organization, or it can be profit organizations, or higher education institutions, because in higher education, we're dealing with a lot of data for the students. So that's another area you can think about it, and government can be another one, and maybe other companies that you're working on. And maybe at this point you are working with the data, you might want to set a little bit more skills and experiences so that you can be more skilled and experienced. So I would say very flexible in terms of where you're going in. And the other area you can think about is after the certificate, you can go to master program, or you can go to PhD program, or you can go to EDD program. More pursuing advanced degree can be possibility from the certificates.
Perfect. And then I guess a question coming off of that is, a very common question that we get is it helpful to have this certificate after you've maybe completed a graduate degree? Would it be helpful, or is it mostly there to help prepare you for that, higher level degree?
I would say both at the same time. And if you are interested at this point and having, your job, and you want to have data skills added into yours, so then you can go to the next level, is another path that you can go for. The other path you can think about is while you are working on your bachelor degree or master degree, having certificate, you are well prepared to get into advanced degree programs, or maybe you can also use those certificates or your skills to do your research better, or your I guess, projects to be well performed. So either way is good. It's a very flexible, and everybody needs for the data analyst at this point.
Mhm. Absolutely. And I love what you said about how the whole world is using data, even though we don't realize it. So it is very much applicable in nature and seems very fitting for pretty much anyone who has that desire to, study it out. And we obviously need more professionals to be step into those roles. But is there any type of skill level that's particularly necessary to join the program? I know you mentioned R and SAS and Python. Do students have to have a basic knowledge or a good, deal of a background to be successful in those courses that really dive into those programs?
So if you do have those skills, if you do have those experiences, that will be very helpful. That doesn't mean that it isn't necessary that you must have it. So I would say the good thing about my classes, good thing about other classes that we'll be offering is will be very interactive, will be very engaging, and will be really, going through the step by step to get into what you need to know to get into the last stage of data analysis and data reporting. So even though you don't have any background in R or SAS or Python or SPSS, as long as you are very passionate, as long as you're not afraid, as long as you're not anxious about it, if you think about this one as something like a foreign languages, this is a time that you can start it, and we'll be working with you. And I don't think it is that difficult as long as you're not really anxious and nervous.
Mhm. Perfect. And it looks like we have Josefina that jumped in and it said hello. So hi, Josefina. Thank you so much for joining us today and hope that the rest of you will also do the same. We definitely want to say hello. That's something that I really appreciate about the University of Miami is it feels more like a family atmosphere just in regards to that intentionality, smaller classrooms. So, your faculty notice when you don't show up to class or when you're not submitting your assignments. And so we're, just very excited to be able to welcome you and speak to you on an individual level tonight. So on that note, can we kind of shift gears and talk a little bit about the faculty-student relationship and accessibility? I know a big concern with students entering into online education, if they don't necessarily have a background in online education, is that they're going to show up, they submit their assignments, they leave, and that's pretty much it. And I know our faculty make it very difficult for students to do that just because they desire a relationship, with them and want to be able to network. Can you share a little bit more about what it looks like on a day-to-day or a week-to-week basis in regards to that communication and accessibility?
So I would say that sometimes a data person, sometimes a statistic person might not be that engaging or might not be that sociable. But whenever it comes down to students, whenever it comes down to learning and teaching, and whenever it comes down to data and data decision-making process, our faculty members are very serious about intentionality and engaging with whoever working with the data. So for me, whenever I get any emails, I usually respond to the students within 1 hour, as long as I do not have any urgency going on. And emails can be a possibility, or maybe if you want to meet with me in person, definitely we can do that one through the Zoom. That's a possibility is there too. However, it is all about us to make everything to be possible together. So it is a bi-directional. So as long as you are very much engaging, as long as you are willing to work with us, we are there for you anytime. And it is an online program. However, thanks to, or maybe it's another silver lining that we are having it from the COVID. Everybody might be very used to Zoom, even though we are also tired with the Zoom. However, still we are very accustomed now. So I think this is another multimodality that we can also work around it. So I would say we will be very engaging with you guys, and I don't think that's another concern that you need to have it.
Perfect. Thank you. And then I guess shifting gears a little bit in regards to the coursework that they can experience. I know we discussed the content that they're going to be exposed to, but what is it going to look like on a week-to-week basis in regards to the type of assignments they're going to have? Is it going to be papers, projects, a mixture of both? Kind of what can they expect coming into the program?
So I would say that number one is you also need to get some foundational knowledge, theory, and foundational understanding of what the statistic is about. which means any classes you also need to have, reading and reading of the textbook or reading of any documentation that we are putting up there. At the same time, we are also having our pre-recorded lectures up there. So then you can have time to review, you can have time to understand, you can have time to get used to or get exposed to. Once you are getting used to those one, we'll be also having live stream lectures. It's not like we'll be just giving you guys a pre-recorded lecture so then you can just buy your own. We'll be having weekly meeting with everybody through the Zoom, and those are live stream will be recorded, and then those recorded lectures will be uploaded into the platforms. At the same time, we are using our I guess the notes that every time we are making on our lecture notes that will be also available for everybody. So those are mostly what we are having with every week. You must work on it. And at the same time, we're also having office hours. And of course, office hour can be any time that we are putting it. If you cannot make it, you can make it to be individual or group meetings with faculty members. And that doesn't mean that you don't have any assignments. We will be having assignments too. So then it doesn't have to be that much intensive, but still you need to have a certain level of practices on computer languages, data collection and data analysis and reporting of your data analysis. It should be also practices every day. Otherwise you will forget it. So we'll be making, I guess, appropriate amount of data analysis, things that you need to work on it. And that will be assignments and I don't think we're going to have any papers, but still we'll be having discussion board and everybody will be reading some articles and just make a comment about what happens with the research articles or any newspapers. There can be possibility for these classes. So I would say it's not just listening or watching. You also need to engage and you also need to put your efforts on it. And for me, if I don't even work on my computer languages at least to 2 days, I forget it. So that's why I really need to go back and do something as my habits. So that's what we are trying to build on with this 4 classes in the certificate program.
Perfect.
But
That's
that doesn't mean that you
fantastic.
need to get scared. It's
Right.
not that bad.
Right, right. And if I remember correctly, you did not have a bachelor's or a master's or doctorate degree within data management or statistics. Is that correct?
Well, my bachelor was psychology.
That
So
that's right. That's right. I
that's
remember
right.
you.
So yeah. So I was not coming from complete math background. I was having psychology background, and after graduation, I had to work with autistic kids for about a year, and then I figured out, oh, it's a good to be therapist, good to be play therapist, to working with the students or kids, but maybe it would be better to develop some diagnostic test for autistic kids. That's why I switched my gear to apply the statistic, and it is applied the statistic, but in our area we say psychometrics. So psychometrics is about how you are building up the items, how you are building up the assessment items that are valid and reliable for getting, I guess, good diagnostics or good testings. So those are called the psychometrics. That's why I switched my gear to psychometrics for my PhD degree. And I didn't have any master's degree. I jumped from bachelor to PhD directly. So that's why you remember that I do not have a complete math background, but that was my, I guess, my background. At the same time, my value, using data, not just for data analysis per se, but using data and using the cycle of the data to make the social impacts and make this a society to be fair and sustainable and resistant. I guess that's my mission to go with it. So that's why every time I am doing any research, whenever I'm doing any data collection or data analysis, I'm always thinking, well, what does it mean? How this one will be impacting our society? How this one will be impacting our individuals or community? Otherwise, it is just, playing with the number. So at the end, everything should be very much contextualized. Otherwise, I would say just producing number is not really a good idea.
I would agree, and I remembered it because it was so encouraging. As you know, many of the students who are considering our program, a big hesitation they have with moving forward is they don't necessarily have the background. But given that our society has shifted to more of a data-driven society, that is something that they want to dive into. And so it's always very encouraging to be able to tell them that, it is a little bit more geared towards those with maybe the behavioral or social sciences. you know, that way it's a little bit more impactful. It's not just numbers, it's how do we use the numbers, use the data to help impact others and society as a whole. So yeah, I appreciate you bringing that to light in this session as well. And then I do have a question in regards to anyone who might be on the fence about the program, as far as timeframes. A lot of our students in the program are full-time working adults, they're parents, several, they're juggling a lot of responsibilities. Can you tell us a little bit more about what time commitment it might be required for the program in order to be successful? Kind of how many hours, a week, could be, I guess, expected in order to be successful?
Sure. So whenever I get this question from any of my students, doesn't have to be online students. It can be anybody who are asking, how do you work around it? Because I have also a lot of responsibilities, personal, professional, and other commitments that I'm having because we are working with the statistic, because you're working with the program languages, because you are working with some different software. If you are not doing every single day, little by little, it is really easily, I would say, forgetting things around it. So for me, if you guys are thinking about this one, I would say at least you might want to commit yourself every day, at least 1 hour to get into, habit of looking at the numbers, looking at the data, looking at thinking about how I can analyze this data. What is this computer language that can get me into it? So I would say every single day, at least 1 to 2 hours commitment will be very useful. And then maybe over the weekends, and you can even work a little bit longer, but this is another joke I can have it anytime. I have my class teaching, students might have babies, students might be pregnant, so we have this joke that all the babies will be extremely smart when they are born, because we always talk about numbers, we always talk about data driven decision makings and everything. So anytime we are having classes, anytime we are having online classes, a lot of times the kids are learning around it and kids might be behind you, but they are seeing you as the one who is working with the data and who is working and studying together. I think this is another good way that you can make a learning environment together with your family members. And that might be also very encouraging to your family members. So I would say if you are very much concerned about your timing, we are here, and I'm also very much the person thinking that this is the time that if I think that I want to make it, I need to do that one right now. However, I'm not the only person over here. I have my colleagues, I have my peers, I have my professor, I have my other family members who will be supporting me at the same time. So if you feel like you have a support system, if you also don't have any support system, we'll be here to be your support system. So I would say you plus other support system will make everything working.
Very beautifully said. I think there is also a lot to be said about that parent, or I know we have several single mothers who, enter the program and want to set that impact for their children. I think it sets this precedent of, what hard work looks like while still being a parent. And I think that just screams volumes to those students. I appreciate you sharing that. Well, I
Sure.
know. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I want to say one more things about woman, and this is data area. I guess data professional, STEM professional, it's a very heavy in certain gender or certain, certain background people.
Mhm.
And that's what I'm really concerned about. If we don't have a diversity in the STEM professional, if we don't have any diversity in the data, decision making process, the society will be not really completely equitable. So having someone who do have a different background, who do have a diverse thinking, who do have a very flexibility, are in need in this profession. So if you are thinking that if you are not anxious, if you're not nervous, if you are believing me, come over here. So we'll make it together.
I love that. And we hope that you do that. And we hope that we see your application soon. And I know we are coming towards the end of our session. So Dr. Arm, before we wrap up, is there anything that we might have missed that you'd like to share with these attendees who are either here with us now or going to watch us later that you'd like to share about the program?
Well, as I said, I think you can do it, and we can do it, and we will be using data, and we'll be making good decision. And in this society that we're going through, if you do not know how to work with the data, I think equity issue will be problematic. So I really want everybody to be, brave enough to getting into this one, make data driven decision making, or any decision making to be equitable and making this society to be more sustainable. If you feel like that's your mission, or if you feel like you want to be contributing it, please join us. I will be here to work with you.
Perfect. Thank you. Well, I can't think of any better way to end our session. But before we do that, I do want to encourage those students who are attending today that have not started their application, or maybe they want to start as soon as the session is done, of what items they would need. So we're just going to ask for your transcript, your resume, your personal statement, 2 letters recommendation, and then your FAFSA. This program is eligible for federal financial aid. So if you have any questions about that, you can definitely connect with an enrollment advisor. And then lastly, our early admissions deadline is coming up on Monday. So if you are looking to try to start this program either this spring or over the summer, we would love to talk to you about the application process, help you get everything in, but don't miss that deadline. By meeting that, you would be able to snag your spot early, as these spots are offered on a first come, first serve basis. And then lastly, I do want to, just as a way of saying thank you, be able to offer you our $300 deposit waiver. So that is going to be applied to you should you apply for the program, you're admitted, and you want to accept your offer. Again, make sure you get your application in. It is free to apply, so you don't have to worry about any type of fee. And if you have any questions, you can give us a call, chat, email, whatever's better for your schedule. But we hope that you'll all join our program soon. And Dr. An, again, thank you for your time. It was a pleasure speaking with you, and I hope you all have a great night.
Yeah, and I am looking forward to seeing you guys all soon. Thank you very much, Liz, and thank you, everybody. Have a great night.
Absolutely.